And to be honest, we've not really seen a detrimental effect because of this distance. We're used to working remotely, but in fact, probably to the contrary, we are so much more conscious of that distance that we actually make more of a concerted effort to communicate more openly and more frequently than we did before, and it's great because it applies for me as well. I'm, going out snowboarding for a week over New Year. I've actually got my honeymoon at the end of January. I'm heading out to the Maldives, where if I can, I'll also be getting online and doing some stuff as well. So it's fantastic. It works for all of us. It works really well, and it'll work for our whole team as we grow as well. It'll just be a cool place to work. But in addition to that, we were very conscious that while we budding, fresh-faced, fancy-free internet superstars to be, with a bit of tongue-in-cheek, with our grand business ideas and our community vision, and our noble gesture of putting ourselves out there and on the line to get other people active and involved and participating, that we were missing a bit of grey hair, and unfortunately John's grey hair didn't quite cut it for us. So I really embarked quite aggressively over the last sort of month or so, but behind the scenes, definitely over the last year, in networking my arse off, to be honest, and finding people, the right people, who could act as a sort of core set of advisors and consultants, and I've been quite good at doing that, and it's really sort of pressed home to me how important that actually is when you're starting out a business, particularly if you don't have that breadth of experience in terms of buying, of implementing, creating, growing, and then selling and having an exit from a business, into how that's viewed by investors and the banks and things like that. There's a lot of impetus put on having that experience, and it's not to say that you can't do this if you don't have it, but you have to have the right network. It's incredibly important. So that's what I did, and in fact I now have a fantastic core sort of advisory board made up of people with very diverse sort of experiences, from ad agency side to social media to accounting to technology, and in fact some of those advisors are now investors at small seed, pre-seed level. I didn't approach them necessarily for investment. I approached them for advice and assistance and help and guidance. And as a result, they got to know me and what we wanted to do, and I was able to communicate clearly what our plan was. And as a result, they wanted to get on board, and that certainly hasn't stopped for us. We're at a very, very early stage, but that's a process that I'll now continue, and I'll continue with those investors and continue building my network, so that when I'm raising the next round of capital, which we're going to be doing as a proper seed round, essentially, I've got that. They've got my back, So that's why I'll continue, and to be honest, it's been so refreshing in terms of the amount of support and advice and intrigue and interest in what we're doing that we've received, that why would I stop doing that? So from the start, we kind of knew that our website, a core element of it, is providing tools and providing information to our members that helps them to be able to find the information that they need, and to cut through the crap that exists out in, particularly in sports. You know, there's a big spectrum of the great quality down to the really rubbish stuff, because of the amount of people who, you know, have sports as a hobby and want to contribute, but, you know, some do it fantastically well, some really don't, and there's no real way of determining what is what's the best content, what's the worst, without a whole lot of pain for the general consumer of that information. So we see that as part of our remit, that we will do part of that filtering process, and so there's a lot of content, a lot of data that we need to present in our site, and I sat for months at my computer until the late hour, held the early hours of the morning, knowing that I had to get up at 5 AM the next day to drive 2 hours to my day job, which was where the office was in Bristol, and knowing that I also had 2 hours coming back, and I was doing this, and I was growing database of thousands of entries of activity centres and shops and places to go and do your sports around the UK. Yeah, and that was the thing, because I was doing it, you know, it was me doing it. That I was UK focused, UK centric, but, you know, our plan for this community is that it's going to be global. But how can you do that when you've only got content coming that's, you know, really relevant to actually one area, one territory, one region? So, you know, it wasn't very effective. Well, it was effective in terms of getting something up there, but it wasn't scalable in that way. So now, obviously, the intention is when the community grows that actually a lot of that content is going to be contributed, moderated by our members, and why wouldn't it be? But, you know, I really was conscious that when people visit our site early on, that there had to be something of value and interest for them. So, after really reassessing that, I thought, what the hell was I thinking? And I've learned a lot since then, and in the next blog I'll talk a bit more about how best to manage your time in these early stages of creating a website and creating these tools, and the realization that your time is inherently very valuable, and there is a value to put to that. And I'm going to tell you how I increased the size of my team, how I freed up a lot of my time to concentrate on the really important things: building my business case, building my network, building my list, building relationships with people, design and development of the product, which is the really important thing. And I didn't break the bank doing so, which is very important, because I didn't have much of one at the time. I still don't have one now. But anyway, as a result, my databases now are growing really quickly. They're really accurately growing, and to the quality that I expect. There's still a lot we want to do with it in terms of functionality and features, but the data's there for us to use, and that's really important. All I have to do now is manage. I have to train, and I have to you know, moderate and approve the activity that's going on, and that's where my time is spent on that. So make sure you check out the next episode. Thanks very much for checking out this two-part video, and now when you get up, get out, get adventurous, and then come back and tell me all about it.